So this question is basics calculator. So you're given a string s, and then it's a valid expression, and then you want to return the result of evaluation. So this question is a little bit challenged because you are actually including the opening and closing parentheses. And then what you actually need to do is you want to evaluate the most inner opening parenthesis first before you move on. So this will be evaluated first, and then this will be the next. Oh, sorry. This will be the next, then this will be the next. Alright, so let's look about the basics one. So 1 plus 1 should be 2, but how do we do this? We want to make sure if we see any sign, we have positive, negative, and opening, closing, and then space. So by default, the first integer doesn't require a positive 1, so we will just by default we're going to assume the first value. If the first value is not a negative value, it's not a negative sign, we're going to assume it's going to be positive value, right? So now we're going to read the value, read a num. So I have an operator. By default, it's going to be positive. Alright, and then I have num. Num is going to be based on how many value I read. It could be 10 plus 1, 12 plus 2, something like this. So it has to be what? It has to be num, num 1, the length of 1 value. You want to stop at a point when you see the plus, when you see a minus, when you see the opening, when you see a closing. And then space doesn't matter. Space can be, you can have a space like this. So this will be pretty much it. And also, if we reach until the end of the string, this is also a value that you need to record, right? And then so we see a 1, and then we see a sign. So we push the num into the stack, right? And then we want to make sure we reassign the value to positive, and we have num reset to 1, so we push 1 into the stack. So now the stack is 1 and 1. So one thing we can do is we traverse the stack, right, and then we return a 2 for the sum, and then we're back to here, output, right? So in this question is a little bit straightforward as well. We have 2 in the stack, and then we see a negative sign, so we make sure the operator was default by positive. We want to make sure it's negative, and then num is going to be num. Num is going to be represent the rest of the value until the positive sign. So now it's going to be 1. So we see a positive sign, we want to make sure this operator and then now it's going to push into the stack, so it's going to be negative 1, and then we'll reset the value. So we're at this position, so operator is going to be positive, now it's going to be 0 by default, and then we move on the rest of it. So at the end it will be 2, and when I hit the last index in the string s, I'm going to push the value into here, so it's going to be positive 2. So if you do the calculation based on the stack, you will say 2 plus negative 1 plus 2, so it's going to be 3. So this is how you return 3. Alright, so in this question, it's a little bit challenged because there's an opening and closing parenthesis. And then what you need to do is you want to evaluate everything between the opening and closing parenthesis. But if there's another one that you need to evaluate first, then you need to do it ahead, right? So I have 1, so if in the beginning I have 1, so I see a positive sign, right? So in the stack, I push 1 over here, and I reset the value. So I reset the value, now I'm equal to 0, operator equal to what? So since this is positive, I'm still going to assign to positive, alright? So if I see opening, I'm going to evaluate this first. So I'm going to create another stack, right? I push 4 in here. I see a positive sign, right? And then I reset a num, and I see 5. I update the num to the 5, and I see another positive operator. I'm going to push into the stack first, and I see a 2, something like this. And then you want to evaluate this first. So what's the value for this? 2 plus 5 plus 4 is going to be 11. So now I'm actually at a closing parenthesis. I'm going to So I finished the evaluation in this one, right? So I will do the sum. So I'm 11 is the sum. I'm going to back to here the first evaluation. So I'm going to push 11, and I see a -3, so I push -3. So this is what you need to do. So -3 plus 11 plus 1, so it should be what? Should be 9, right? And this will be 6 plus 8. It's going to be exactly the same thing. There's another stack, 6 plus 8. This will represent what? 14. So you will get 23. Alright, so the logic is straightforward, but the coding is not, right? So I have index 0, but since I need to recursively call myself, I'm going to just make sure my index is outside the calculator function. So I have a stack, pushing the integer in here, and then I have operator. Operator is going to represent a char, and I have num. I would initial to 0. So how do I know I finished the traversal? It's going to be I less than s.length, right? So I have a currency equal to s.char at I, right? And then I will have I plus plus at the end, but since I'm not using I anymore, so I'm just increment right here for the next iteration. And then if c is the integer, right? So it's going to be greater or equal than 0, and c is less than or equal than 9. This is the integer, right? So I'm going to say num equal to num times 10 plus c minus ASCII value 0. So I will make sure it's actually valid. So c is, if c is equal opening parenthesis, I'm going to evaluate. The num will reassign value to the evaluation for the calculate x. I don't care about index because index is increment every single time, and then it's not bothering my my index. I'm not resetting my index. My index is outside. I already declared I equals 0 in the beginning. And then how do I know when do I need to push into the stack? So if I equal s.length, or c equal to positive, or c equal to negative, or c equal to closing parenthesis, right? So this is how I know I need to push into a stack. So it doesn't matter if positive value or negative value, is a value I need to push into the stack. So now we need to make sure it's operator. So if the operator is actually equal to positive, and then we'll push a positive value into the stack. So stack.push positive num. If the value is not equal to positive, I'm going to push the negative value into the stack. Right, and I need to update my operator equal to current c whatever it is, right? And then num will become 0. Like I need to reset, right? If c is actually equal to closing, right? I'm going to break, since there is a evaluation needs to do priority, right? So I will break out the evaluation. I will make sure I return a value for the int. That's sum. So I will make sure I have the correct sum ready when I return this, right? And then yeah, let me run it and see if I have any typo or not. Alright, no. Alright, yeah, this question is a little bit challenging. I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you, but the tricky part is this. I see the opening, I start over here, 4 plus 5 plus 2, and then until the closing parenthesis, right? So how do I know I push into the stack? I'm going to push into the stack right here. I'm going to return a value based on my stack, my list inner parenthesis stack, and then I'm going to update the value for list. Alright, so if you don't understand, you can rewind the video and then think about this. Alright, let's talk about time and space. Space is going to be all of them, right? You can append every single number into the stack, and then time is definitely all of them. You want to traverse every single index in a string S, right? So time and space are the same. So if you have a question, leave a comment, and I'll see you next time. Bye.